translated. Work out in my neighborhood.
You the one talking about you want to throw the football.
You didn't ever want to go.
Yeah, it's COVID, man. Anyway, thank y'all for joining us today on OTM On The Mark. We are here with another episode with a special guest for you guys, man. Y'all that have been missing sports, welcome. We have not only the NBA starting back soon if they can behave, but we also have special guests. I call him Apostle Claver, the man, the myth, the legend, the man that I've known since 2002. Better known as Claver T. Kamau-Imani. Thank you for joining us today.
Tracy, what's up?
So, we'll always, we give a shout out to everybody. We want to give a shout out to Amanda, Bridget, all the staff at Crazy Frogs, Jen.
We gotta get back to work quick.
Possible. Yeah. Stay safe out there. Give a shout out to Bree, Grayson, Anthony.
Wash your hands.
Oh, yeah, please wash your hands. Damn, wash your hands. Anyway, we starting off today. And for y'all that don't know, I met Claver December 2002. Was in a bad place in life. And he had a church. And back then, me and church was
not getting along.
It wasn't gonna happen. So went to his church and loved it ever since. It was cool, like down to earth, everything. And we've been cool since.
Well, I loved her from the first moment she walked in, and I still love her, and she still makes me proud. Yeah, she was pretty messed up, but the Lord straightened her out pretty good, pretty quick, and she is one awesome lady right now. I'm so proud of her.
Thank you.
Guess it happened to you too, then, huh? She got you like that too, right? It happens to the best of us, man.
It happens. So today we're talking to Claver about his sports league with RERsports. And for a little bit more information, check out his website. You see in the background, RagingElephantRadio.com.
RERsports.net.
RERsports.net. Y'all make sure y'all check that out. So I came across, he sent me a link, professional go-kart racing. Interesting, because right now in the time of which we're seeking some type of sports, anything.
Some kind of activity besides working out.
Right. I dropped 22 pounds. If I drop any more, I'm gonna look like a crackhead.
I take that look over the out of shape dying look any day.
Dying and crawling up some stairs at 120 degrees. Somebody is hot.
I was about to run through a car wash, man. I'm telling you yesterday, I was about to run through a car wash. It was so hot out there.
Man, who you telling? Yesterday, I can't even front yesterday. I felt like I was going to die. Decided to go running about 3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, you should have died. Yeah, in the middle of the heat, she wants to run outside and try to prove a point to somebody. Going to run at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Houston, Texas, and 98% humidity. Yeah, you need to die. That's called suicide. I just saw her running, man. That's all. I just saw her running, and she passed out. I said, I told you she should be running.
Sunshine went down, came back. She came back in. I said, you okay? She had sweat. She's like, move.
You got women always want to put up makeup on today or nothing like that. It's like this is going out putting powder on their face. Just walk out the door.
And just walk out the door. So we're gonna talk a little. Besides the heat, we're gonna talk to Claver about this because I want to know how he's operating in this heat on that hot track. So we're gonna start off with that question first. Well, second. First, we want to know, how did this come about? How did you come up with the creation of RERsports? Give us a plan. How did it come into play? Okay, so all the way back in 2013, I started RagingElephantRadio.com. Right.
And it basically, not basically, but what it is a 24/7 digital media outlet that focuses primarily on the Texas political ecosystem. So just like you have CNN or MSNBC or Fox News that cover a lot of politics and what's happening throughout the nation and the world, RER was designed to focus primarily, exclusively on Texas, anything that's going on in Texas, the Texas political ecosystem. But from the very beginning, And so let me say this, as far as that type of talk format is concerned, we're the only digital media company in the world that does what we do. 24/7, 365, integrated media that focuses on Texas politics. But from the very beginning, the grander vision was to launch other divisions, a real media company, just like Fox and NBC and ABC. They got all these different divisions. They have a sports division. They have a business division. So entertainment division, which is their primetime television. You guys know how, in some cases they even have, cinematic divisions, theme park divisions, diversification in their corporate portfolio. And so I always wanted to develop Raging Elephants Radio into that, a true, fully integrated media company, multi-divisional media company. And the two things that I thought that we could get the most traction on first was, beyond politics, would be religion with RER Cross, focusing on the Lord. Got to give something to the Lord no matter what I do. And RERsports. The original idea was several years ago was to try and forge alliances, any alliance with some high school ISD athletic director and try to do high school sports, high school football, streaming, audio streaming, a local high school, because there isn't enough bandwidth really on terrestrial radio to cover all the thousands of high schools that we have around the nation. And the business model really was, hey, look, if you get some little 3A or 2A school, even a little 2A school somewhere in some remote town in Texas, and they give us the streaming rights, and that's like, sticking an oil pipe into the Permian Basin. You just suck all the money out of there because every business on Main Street is going to want to be a sponsor of the local high school video or audio streaming. But that space is extremely crowded digitally. When it comes to video and audio streaming, and terrestrial radio still has a strong footprint, and the competition to be able to get those rights were absolutely vicious. And as a startup company, it was very hard for us to compete. And in some instances, the ADs, are so egotistical to where, they don't even want to return your phone call. Everybody's always calling them for the ability to do this, permission to be able to stream their teams, cover their sports, especially the football aspect of it. And so I sort of kind of dropped it for a while. And then just sort of out of a lark, I began pursuing karting. And found out that really this community, which is rather sizable and is a good community, a good racing community, which is my favorite sport, auto racing, specifically Formula One, has no media coverage whatsoever. So the question was, okay, do you go out and you try to compete in a space that's already crowded, or do you hit them where they ain't? And I love motorsports. Nobody's, covering this particular sport, karting, which is extremely exciting, affordable. The common man or woman can get involved in it. And so it was just a natural fit. I really think the Lord had something to do with it. And I was able to forge a relationship, an alliance with what has to be the premier karting facility, certainly in Texas, if not southern United States, if not the entire nation, Speed Sports Race Park up in New Caney, which agreed to be our home. So we decided to become the home of Houston karting, just the Houston karting scene. That's going to be enough work just to try to cover that, because the sport is regional, it's national, it's international. And so not only am I trying to potentially get back into racing, which is part of the content that we'll be creating for RERsports, but we'll be covering the Houston karting scene exclusively. We will be the home for it just by default because nobody else is. And so this is the launch of RERsports and other aspects. We start from here, just like ESPN started out with, ping pong and double Dutch and whatever else they could cover, whatever they could get the broadcast rights to just for content. We start with this. We start with the karting scene, but it is significant. It's not beer pong. It's not air hockey. It's a real sport. It's an exciting sport. It's an accessible sport. And one of the things we want to do with RERsports is introduce karting to the common person as an alternative competitive sport that they can get involved in to satisfy those competitive juices. It's something you have to be in shape in, but it's affordable. I mean, you want to go play a game of golf, a round of golf. I mean, you got to set aside 4 to 5 hours, and you really need, a duo, a trio, a foursome. If you're going to go out and play tennis, you got to have a partner to play with. Well, you can just show up at one of these rental tracks, like Speed Sport Race Park, and get in one of their rental carts that, top out at 45, 47 miles an hour, and you can be challenged. You can be challenged physically, you can be challenged competitively, and you can get a little adrenaline rush. So we want to introduce the community, every community, to this sport, and we want to be the boss when it comes to distributing content in the karting scene, and we want to grow from there. We want to do something that very few companies have the opportunity to do, and that's integrate our media expertise, our media platform, with actually racing on the track, to be able to have our own team on the track, our own kart on the track. And unlike other drivers, as I would be, I have the ability to bring that synergy together, an actual media company with wide distribution and a large audience, to an actual team in which sponsors are looking for exposure. Well, we give it to them in spades. We give it to them to the overflow.
So let me ask you this. I know you talked before, a long time ago, about when you did race Formula One. What was that?
Well, not Formula One. Formula cars. Formula One is a whole new thing. Formula One is like playing in the NFL. Formula One is like playing in the NBA or Major, right?
Real fast, like IndyCar driving.
So the integration of the two, how does it feel from a perspective when you did it back then? Was there a lot of brick walls that you had to face as a Black man in the racing arena?
No, there are stories of those that did. Okay. There's no question about that. And I would highly recommend that everyone go on Netflix. I believe it's Netflix, and look at the documentary Uppity about Willie T. Ribbs. Mm-hmm. He was the first Black man to qualify for the Indianapolis 500 back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And he was the only Black guy that was at the top of the pyramid back then. Now, there were some other Black guys that were like me down in the lower formula that were trying to struggle, and get to the top. But me personally, I cannot say that from a racial perspective that it was a disadvantage for me. Okay. Right. It was to some extent for Willie T, but he wasn't shaped in the corporate image. Right.
Was Willie T a Formula truck driver? Is that the same guy started off as truck driver, Formula One cars? Formula One trucks? The same guy?
No. Willie's originally from California. He was the first Black guy, even before now, Lewis Hamilton, the 6-time defending Formula One world champion. I think he's going to win his 7th this year. But he started out in California, modest means as far as family was concerned, but he was just one heck of a driver that really fought and clawed and made his way to the top. But he was very controversial, but he was an unbelievable driver, unbelievable. Bill Cosby had got behind him to get into the Indy 500 and some other risk takers. But by and large, he faced, with NASCAR being in the news now, he faced some serious problems that Bubba Wallace ain't never even dreamed about when he was trying to get into NASCAR back in the mid and late 1980s. It was just unbelievable, to the point where they couldn't let him drive. NASCAR wanted him to drive, but the fan reaction and the sponsors' reaction was so vitriolic that it was for his best health, his best interest, for his life.
Yeah, they probably would have killed him.
Yeah. But if you're going to be intellectually honest about it, if you're going to be objective about it, how he conducted himself really stirred the pot. He was a controversial figure. His idol was Muhammad Ali, and he actually had a relationship with Ali, and whenever he would rent a race, he would jump on top of his car and do the Ali shuffle. Well, Ali didn't have to represent Ford. Ali didn't have to represent Coca-Cola. Ali didn't have to represent big international brands, and he could act like that. When you're dealing with corporate sponsors, and they're dishing out millions of dollars for you to sit down in a seat and drive as fast as you can, and for you to enjoy that, you better mold yourself into the corporate image that's going to sell their product and not be controversial. And that was not Willie T. So there were other black guys, that were like me, struggling at the bottom, trying to get to the top, didn't have enough money, had plenty of talent, but that's drivers of all skin pigmentations. There's plenty of drivers out there that had, professional aspirations and professional talent, but just couldn't put together what they could do on the track with what has to be done behind the desk. Yeah. So for me to say specifically back in the late 1980s and early 1990s that I was being held back because of my skin pigmentation, I think that would be a very unfair charge to level at the racing community.
Okay. Understood.
All right, I got another question to ask you. Since we were talking about the go-kart racing, sounds very exciting. Definitely for families. You usually have the batting cages and stuff like that, right? With this go-kart racing, will it be sponsors?
Yeah, when you get to the level that I'm talking about, the type of footage that I showed you, that I sent over to Tracy, the trailer that we did introducing RERsports, sponsorship is definitely acceptable, and there is what you may call pro level. But the money isn't really there. These are development leagues, really. This is just like, when you start your kid off in Little League Baseball and then you go to, Pony League and Colt League and high school, and hopefully you get drafted and go to rookie ball or A ball. You work your way up the ladder. And when I began racing, I didn't even know that this progression ladder even existed. Of course, you learn that later. And now trying to get back into a Formula car 30 years after getting out of a Formula car, I'm starting at the beginning at the karting phase, just like you would start at Little League, starting all over again. But the guys that you see in Formula One, the guys that you see in IndyCar, the guys that you see at the Daytona 500, this is how they started when they were 5, 6, 7 years old, just like you may start your kid in junior basketball or soccer or baseball. Well, there's little kid karts out there, where you got kids that are 5 to 7 years old in these little kid cadet karts, and they're out there driving, 45, 47 miles an hour, and they don't know their ABCs yet, and you work your way up, different classifications for different leagues, different horsepowers for the karts, to where, you can get into a shifter kart and you're out there doing 100 plus mile an hour in a kart, but you go to a place like Speed Sport Race Park, and if you want to feel the power of, what a kart can do, you can pay them a couple $100 and get into a kart that can, reach almost 80 miles an hour, and they'll let you go out there and drive it, and you can go out there and kill yourself if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, some people drive and kill themselves in 45 miles an hour just driving regular cars. So just imagine going 85 in a go-kart. Yeah. It was just you.
20 miles an hour on a 10-speed bicycle, they'll kill themselves. Stay off the road, please. So, but go ahead, Tracy. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I just said flip.
No, I got another question. I wanted to ask you this also. By this being a predominantly white sport, pretty much NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, you see a lot of white drivers. And I appreciate you coming on the show and educating our listeners to what Formula One is about. And I was telling Tracy this like a while back. You have the passion for something. You don't care if it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever. And like you say, you start from the ground up to the top. And when you have a passion for something, no matter what your pigmentation is, you keep pushing on it. For our listeners, which predominantly black listeners, what do you tell them to keep them encouraged to want to drive? Because you got a lot of people that want to drive fast, especially the one you're looking at right there, the Mercedes-Benz. But we got a lot of people that want to be in that. A lot of people want to drive cars, but they just don't think that it's for them. What do you tell those people?
See, and that's one of the things. We're doing two things in launching RERsports. There's two things that I'm really trying to achieve. First of all, I want to give the sport the on-track coverage that it deserves. I'm talking about even up to flag coverage, of races. We were able to do that for the very first time a few weeks ago. There was an event out at Speed Sport Race Park, and we were able to actually cover flag to flag all the races that were being held that day. That was the first time we were able to do that. But I also am doing a video docuseries, 10 episodes, hopefully, about my quest to get back into a open wheel Formula car after 30 years after leaving it, and following me around as I try to achieve this, getting into rental carts, getting into a rental cart league. Did my first race in 30 years this past Wednesday, and it was in a rental cart that any one of you can go rent for, $20 for 10 minutes, anytime, at any place. And to be honest, there's several of these places around the Houston area. That's how to start. It is a challenge. You will be surprised on how much of a workout it is. It is very physical, and it takes skill, and it takes talent. And even these little rental carts will sharpen your driving skills, and that's why I find it to be so very valuable, and I still do it. But it's accessible, and it's an introduction to the sport. In the video docuseries, in which I'm going to call it a comeback. It's kind of a bifurcated docuseries. There's the story of what I call the quest, me trying to achieve something, at my advanced age. And then there's the part called the contest, where I just invite normal people, average, everyday people to come to the track and participate in a tournament. Be two challengers that are new to karting, rental karting. They're not a former fully sponsored race car driver like me, and they go at each other, and the winner advances in the tournament to face me. And if they beat me, hey, dinner's on me. Oh. But the whole idea is to introduce the regular person to the sport. This is another alternative for you, not just for entertainment, but potentially for hobby, for feeding that competitive spirit that's within you. Yeah. And, oh, by the way, I'm officially inviting Tracy right now to be a contestant on Call It a Comeback, see if she can take me out, because I know she's like a speed demon, Yeah,
I drive like a grandma, dude. You don't have to worry about me. I drive like a grandma, so my kids be fussing at me. Daddy, drive fast. Like, we had a red light. Turn that red light. I'm like, look, man, chill out, relax.
Look, since
my lady drive fast. I don't drive fast. I'm the old man in a wheelchair kind of driver. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, I would talk about you too. I would.
You keep it in the fast lane. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we just really appreciated you to stay in the right lane. That's all you need to do.
How about this? Right lane. How about I'm not getting in the car? How about I just watch out from the sideline?
Yeah, you just stay in the right lane.
How about that?
I'm talking about on the Katie. Okay, you stay in the right lane. Okay.
I like that.
Mediocrity does not produce greatness. So the right lane is mediocrity. Go over there.
Yeah. No. I'm not driving.
All of us that don't believe in speed limits, we'll stay in the left lane, and we'll be all right.
Over there.
We'll be all right.
We over here. Don't get in our way.
As you guys getting tickets, I'm driving by waving. I told them don't be driving that fast.
It's about knowing who is your competitor at the same time, so your competitor can get that ticket and not you.
Wow.
I just use Waze. That stops me. I mean, I just use it.
According to ridiculousness, Waze don't work as potholes and nothing like that. Waze, why they didn't use Waze? To get back to what we was talking about, man, that's really appreciative. That's actually awesome, man. To get people into something they have no idea about.
They have no idea that it even exists.
Nothing. And this is so cool.
The thing is, us having this conversation, is so valuable. The audience that you serve, to let them know. I just don't, you brought up the point that it's, predominantly Caucasian, and there, some Latinos and Asians that are involved in it too. But the underrepresentation by the Black community, there are Black young guys out there, Black young girls out there that are trying to work their way up the ladder. There should be more. There should be more.
Right.
It just don't get that exposure that Black, like, I'm not gonna say Black sports. I'm just saying that predominantly Black is playing football, basketball. They get that notoriety from the community, from the Black community, the white community, the Mexican community.
And the truth of the matter is, in sports like soccer or auto racing, believe it or not, in auto racing, the opportunity to go pro is more ample. The odds are better than the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball. They are more likely to get a job driving fast than they are to do 360 slam dunks.
Staying in that left lane, right?
Yeah. You got to think outside the box.
Yeah, some of the people in our community, because they're economically disadvantaged. Yes, even the karting side of it, it's going to be out of their reach. But let's be real about it. We've got a strong middle class, a growing middle class. There are those in the Black community that are indeed in the upper middle class area. We're not talking about having to be a millionaire. Right. And they can afford their sport for their children or for themselves. Once again,
$20 a week to go, like you say, rent a car.
Well, I mean, if you want to go out and get your own cart, I'm saying, if you actually want to go out and you want to race, in the city championship, or you want to race on the regional series, or you actually want to go to national races where there'll be 50 entrants in your class. Right. If you want to go travel to France or to Belgium or to England and compete against international drivers, I mean, yeah, you can go spend that money if you got it, but you don't have to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got a few thousand laying around. I mean, 9 figures, a 4-figure budget can make it happen for you for a year, for you, your child. And it is from 5-year-olders to graybeards. There's a guy that I met last Wednesday. He's 78 years old. This guy's been racing since 1959. I mean, he's my new hero, and he's still out there racing those little rental carts, man. Even in this sport, age is just a number. So regardless of where you are in your timeline of life, you can, if you enjoy it, if you like the adrenaline, if you really want the challenge of developing real driving skills, racecraft, this is something that a lot of people can afford. It can be done.
Agreed. How did you do on your race? What
oh man, it was it was embarrassing. Well, I don't know, man. I mean, after 30 years, to
got caught in that right lane.
The main event to finish sixth place in the main event. I mean, it's okay. I mean, my racecraft was just very, very bad. I mean, there's a big difference when you're out there and you're just running laps.
Yeah.
You're learning the track, versus when you're actually racing wheel to wheel, head to head with someone. It's one thing to catch up with someone. It's another thing to pass them. There's driving fast, and then there's racecraft. And the thing that I saw immediately on Wednesday night was if I've lost anything, it's my racecraft. Not aggressive enough, not passing where I should be passing, the driver ahead of me making a mistake and me not pouncing on him. Things like that, right? It was really lacking. Yeah, I can go out there and I can still drive fast laps. My hands are still fast. My reflexes are still fast. My eyesight to see the entry point, the exit point, the acceleration points are still there. But the racecraft was really, really poor. So these are things that I'll be working on as I compete in the league. And as we get sponsorship and establish our own RER racing team, I'll be competing in the city championship as well. So we're excited about it. And a lot of improvement to be made as far as my driving is concerned. But one of the things I have now that we did not have 30 years ago is video, on-board video, right? Yeah. So I can pull off the helmet cam and plop it into the computer and say, oh, gee, I missed this, I missed that. Look at all these mistakes that I made. Yeah. Now I've got scouting film. Deshaun Watson hits the film room. Now I can hit the film room. We didn't have that 30 years ago.
Yeah, agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
So I can hit the film room every time I go out there. If I'm just running practice laps, if I'm racing, I just put the helmet cam on, pull it off after I get off, put it on the computer, and I can do my own, skull session, my own trunk talk right there.
Yeah, and see everything
hey, dude, this is, I don't need a coach. I mean, I'm experienced enough. There's some things that you don't forget. This is one of the things that you don't forget. These skills that I spent tens of thousands of dollars on 30 years ago in order to develop, they haven't left. But the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things hasn't left.
Right.
And so, but I really believe, looking at the competition, that was my first time out there. A track that I'd never been on, had to learn it and qualify in 8 minutes. It's like, oh my God.
That's crazy, man.
I know, like I've never seen this track before. I've never run on this track before. And you're giving me 8 minutes to actually qualify,
That's dope.
And that's what I'm saying, to finish 6th place in under those circumstances.
That's really good, sis. Yeah.
Now, it's funny how you say that. Now, watching film, what's different about watching film as a driver as I'm not having it? What's the I know it helps out, but what's the major difference that it helps out for you?
Well, I had, just like you have coaches in every sport, right? And in racing, there is that as well. And back then, you would have coaches, you would hire coaches, and they would, look at you, coach you and say, you're pinching here, you're crabbing here, you're turning in too soon here, your hands are too slow there, you're not getting rotation in the car over here, you got to do this in turn 6, do this in turn 7. They had to be your eyes and ears for you. And from their instruction, you develop your eye. You develop how to find the line, the fastest way around the track, right? And that's something that you develop. And most of the time it's through visualization, it's through imagination, going through the track in your mind, knowing every turn, knowing every crack and crevice in that track, where is your turn-in point? Where is your braking point? Where is your exit and acceleration point? It's all in your mind and your imagination, and you have to sort of etch it in there and then put it into practice once you get behind the wheel of the car, or in this case, the cart. With video now, sure, I have the added advantage of having the track etched in my mind, having some idea of what I see at cart level, at driver level, but to be able to go back and look at it on video, because first of all, it's on my helmet. So wherever my head is turning, where am I looking, at certain times, entering, everybody can go fast in a straight line. The key is how fast can you go when you got to turn left or right, and, where are you looking? Where are my eyes at certain points? And why did I miss this particular turn-in point? Why was I sliding the car and losing speed at this particular point? All that is there for me now. It's an additional tool that I find is going to be indispensable. I was just blown away that I never had that tool before. And then just using something as simple as a GoPro, or in my case, an Casio, it just is an unbelievable platinum tool to be able to find things to work on, improve, and find time on the track, be faster.
That's dope. And
see that the left lane don't have that kind of problem. See, when you're in the left lane, we don't have those kind of problems. See all that stuff you was thinking about, we don't have that problems in the left lane.
No, you talk about the right lane. You don't have problems in the right lane.
Left lane.
The right lane is the slow lane. What the sign says is left lane.
In the right lane, then I'm with the old ladies then.
Yeah, that'll be the right lane. You stay over there with the station wagon with June. You stay over there. All right.
So Tracy gave you 162 names. So what are we gonna call you? So where we can go to so we can get people to follow you on Instagram, Facebook, because we're gonna promote RER, and we definitely gonna put it out there for you.
Definitely.
Well, we're gonna try to promote OTM too. But I tell you the thing is, at Apostle Claver, Twitter, Facebook. If you go to RagingElePhantsRadio.com or RERsports.net, which redirects you to our sports page on RER. All of our social networks are connected right there. Find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter. We don't do any Instagram, but RER video YouTube channel. All of our sports videos are going to be there as well. And all the other content that we're expanding out beyond just politics, going in, going to be talking about Texas business, Texas entertainment, Texas fashion, Texas travel, anything that deals with the Lone Star State, the future independent sovereign republic of Texas. We're going to try to cover it and get those divisions up and running. And RER
That's dope. Hey, Spencer Tillman is watching. Shouts out to Spencer. Thank you for checking in.
Spencer
Tillman.
Spencer.
This is a landmark. Thank you, Spencer, for checking us out.
I don't believe y'all. Spencer Tillman is not watching us.
Spencer Tillman is watching us.
Spencer Tillman is not.
Spencer Tillman is watching us.
Not watching us right now.
Yes.
Why'd you just say, no, that'd be like saying Howard Cosell is watching us right now.
Spencer Tillman is watching us.
So, Apostle, let me ask you another question. And it goes back to the way you're talking about the REM as far as doing football games, high school basketball games possibly.
Right.
They don't have that, man, back in, playing football. Certain schools have that in the city. Like, it's funny you mentioned, but Spencer Tillman is one of those voices that you hear on TV and radio, but they don't do it for high school football.
Well, it depends. Well, okay, I got to talk to you about that, man. I mean, I tried to get a meeting with the AD of Houston ISD. It was almost impossible.
There's no callbacks.
Right? And there were some schools that are around here in my area that I thought, we could cover on the west side of town. The one very short telephone conversation I had with him, he said, well, why you want one of those schools? How come, one of our smaller schools? I said, hey, I'll take any school. I don't care. I really don't care. I'll take Yates. I'll take Milby. I don't care, right? It didn't have to be some glamour school, of HISD. I'll take anyone, but he wasn't serious about it. Now, there are, like, for instance, Fort Bend ISD. Well, they got an agreement already with a company that really covers all their high schools, that covers limits in Hightower and all of them, right? You try to go up to the Dallas area, you try to go to the Austin area. Yeah, there's digital companies out there. But some of the smaller schools, especially still some of the schools that are predominantly black, they're not getting any traction whatsoever, right?
They need it.
Right.
The only time that they're going to get coverage is one of their star players goes to a D1 school.
And it's not just football.
Yeah.
Right? How come we can't do basketball? How come we can't do baseball? Those schools that do have gymnastics or soccer. Hey, why not?
Chess tournament.
Why not? Yeah,
a chess tournament or something.
You're right.
Why not? Why not a science competition? Why not a math club competition? Why not a chess tournament?
Why not a cooking competition?
The reason why I asked that question also is because of there's a lot of kids out there, black, white, no matter what, that are not getting the exposure that they need. And with something like this, those younger guys and those guys in a lower grade can get that boost, and to help people recognize who they are, because a lot of kids get missed out on, and a lot of gyms, diamonds in the rough get missed out on because they're getting no recognition.
Yep.
I think it's awesome.
The talent, the ability for the media to cover the talent isn't there. The preponderance of talent, the overflow of talent just here in the Houston area. This is why I started off RERsports by saying we're the home of Houston karting. We're not going to even try to tackle what's happening all over the state of Texas. Let's just start off with just what's happening in Houston, because there's so much of it, right? I mean, if you, and it's not like we've given up on the idea of covering high school or junior high school sports. I even had conversations with some of the homeschool leagues. I mean, there's homeschoolers that have football teams and baseball teams and basketball teams, right? And so there's opportunities that are out there. You have to go, Tracy knows this. I taught this in church. I taught this from the pulpit. When the door opens, you walk through it. If it's the wrong door, you turn around and walk back out. Okay? Yep. Yeah, the only way to find out whether or not if the Lord opened the door for you is you've got to walk in there and then see if it's blessings or cursings over the threshold, right? So it's not like, it's not like we're going to abandon the idea of getting into high school sports. This is too much money in it. This is too much money, right?
Agreed.
So we'll find a way. But this door has been opened, and I give the Lord Jesus, Jehovah Jireh, the God that provides, El Shaddai, the God of more than enough. I give him all the credit for making this opportunity happen, opening my eyes and bringing us to this level, bringing us to this opportunity. So we're going to exploit it, and then we're going to wait and see what other opportunities open for us. But let's exploit this. Let's see if we can make this profitable. Let's see if we can pump some more capital into the company to even expand our news coverage, our political coverage, which we believe is much more important. And also, our business coverage, our political coverage, especially in seasons of elections, and see if we can make it more profitable and grow for there. But we're very excited about it. No, the idea of just doing one thing, just covering this, would be shortcoming our potential and underestimating our potential. Yeah. And we want to develop it all, actually.
That's what we're all about. That's why we try to cover as much as we could. A couple of weeks ago, we had a show about the George Floyd situation. We got people reactions. We had a lot of people upset and mad. We just want to keep people, in tune with what's going on and stuff that we see that other people may not see. And another question from me. It's funny how you say about politics. I was sitting down and I was watching the Democratic primary, I don't know if it's a primary, but they voted. and they had a lot of people that were on the ballot. Now, my question to you is, why are those people on the ballot, and does that interfere with the people who's actually running for the office?
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying like
I saw something on Instagram and Facebook yesterday where they were showing that Joe Biden, his percentage and the number of people who voted for him, that he won the Democratic. We all knew he won it, but then you had Amy Coulter, and Bernie Sanders, and them. They had all the people that ran under that Democratic nomination.
Yeah, they've already dropped out, but they're still on the ballot.
Yeah, my question is, it's confusing. It's confusing to me, and maybe I'm wrong or maybe I'm missing something. But why is it on the ballot?
Cliff, it has to do with the election code, right?
Okay.
So there's certain hoops you have to jump through, and I just ran for office back in the fall and the winter, and so I knew all this even before then. But there's certain hoops you have to jump through in order to get on the ballot. Right. Mm-hmm. That's why this Kanye talk is crazy, because, dude, you ain't going to get on any ballots and nobody's going to write your name in. Right. It's too complicated. There's some steps you have to go through for all 50 states if you're running for president in order to get your name on the ballot. So whether it was Klobuchar or Cory Booker or Kamala Harris, they had to take some steps in order to get on the ballot. Right. And so once your name is on the ballot, even if you say, okay, I quit, I drop out, I'm suspending my campaign, by law, they can't take your name off the ballot. Now, the deal is every state's law is different. Remember, our elections are not centralized like in a communist country. Each state runs their elections. Each county runs their elections, at least here in Texas. So it's a very decentralized system that we have when it comes to our election code, right? So it depends on each individual state has its own rules and regulations for a citizen to be able to get on the ballot for whatever office they're running for.
Okay.
So even if Cory Booker says, see, you don't want to be and I'm out of here, in certain states, perhaps even here in Texas, his name can't come off the ballot if he's already fulfilled the requirements, the prerequisites to get his name on the ballot.
Gotcha.
Is that a money situation, or do you get kickbacks from that because of the political contributions from different sponsors or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, there really shouldn't. When you look at the requirements of getting on the ballot, okay, but I think that's sort of what you're looking at. Is like, why are these people still on the ballot and they're not even running anymore? One of the reasons why they quit is because the money dries up. They're doing badly in the polls. They're doing badly on the debates. They're not getting any traction on the ground, especially in those early primary states, no matter which party that you're talking about, Democrat or Republican. If you're not performing well in Iowa, if you're not performing well in New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, those first 4 or 5 states, the money people out there that really finance the political machine of the United States aren't going to give you any more money, right? And so you're gonna buy out. But you have to have all your ducks in a row. You have to have your T's crossed and your I's dotted, just in case your dream of becoming the nominee, just in case the potential of you laying down your head, in the West Wing of the White House on a MyPillow becomes reality. You got to do all the legal work ahead of time to make that happen, right?
Gotcha, yeah. So let me ask you this, and I actually thought about this, and I talked to Cliff about this. We laughed about this. Because we were talking about Harris County judge. And I said that, if this was just my honest opinion, if Lena Hidalgo could put her name on the ballot, I could too. And
you can. It's like, you can. I mean, that's the quirky thing about it. Lena Dum Hidalgo. Yes, you put your name on the ballot and lightning can strike.
Yeah, and it's
lightning can't strike if your name isn't on the ballot, right?
And I've seen it so many times, and from a political standpoint, like the guy that ousted Sylvia Garcia, 4 years ago, and he didn't even think he was going to win. The news knocked on his door and was like, "Hey, congratulations!"
That's right,
Sylvia Garcia. And he was like,
"Huh?" He had about to look at his hand and everything.
Yeah, he was like, "Huh? For real?"
I won.
Well, think about it. AOC. She didn't think she was going to win. I mean, she's facing one of the most powerful people in the Democratic caucus, in line to be perhaps the next Speaker of the House. Yeah. And out of the clear blue sky, he he takes everything for granted. Who's this bartender that's running against me? I'm not gonna spend any money. I'm not gonna campaign. I'm gonna save it for the general election. I'm gonna cruise on and continue to build my seniority and my pension out of the clear blue sky.
She wins.
She wins, right? If your name is on the ballot, you never know when lightning is going to strike.
What's going to happen.
I think Olivia Pope had a problem. She had something to do with that. Olivia Pope was messing with that campaign.
That's just like, so the justice of the peace positions, a couple of years ago, I actually was looking into it. And to put your name on the ballot.
Oh man, you talk about a plum position. If I was to run for anything else again in the future, it'd probably be
the justice of the peace.
Because you make bank,
and you do nothing. Nothing.
You make married.
Right? You barely have to show up.
You married.
You do that. Yeah, you collect a check. That's what you do.
Go like this.
That's it. You come in probably. How you guys doing? Okay, bye.
Well, I have a friend up in Longview who's a JP, and he's a good dude. You do a lot of marriages, courthouse marriages. There are some traffic violation, court cases that you have to oversee if constables actually, cite you for something. But other than that, man, I mean, JP is
it's chill.
That's a plum job, man.
And you get a lot of money. All you have to do is find one of these seats where somebody has died or they're vacating the seat.
That's why the seats have been there for so long.
And it's empty, and you put your name on the ballot.
And you doggle it.
Yep, and you never know.
And you doggle it.
And you never know where lightning's going to strike. You never know.
That's why I tell you that I'm not mad at her for putting her name on it. I'm mad at the people who are not voting. That's what I'm mad at, the people who are not voting. So if you're sitting here and not vote, then don't get mad at her for winning.
You cannot get mad at who you did not choose because you did not vote. You can't. You can't at all. And a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, oh, well, I'm not going to vote because I don't want to vote for this party, and I don't agree with this party, so I'm just not going to vote.
And that's not cool, man. You guys got to get out there and vote. Make sure you vote for people you want to vote for. You don't have to vote Democrat. Vote Republican. Vote whoever, independent. Vote whoever you want to vote for. Vote, man. Make your voice heard. Please get out there and vote. Don't sit on the couch. Smoke your weed. Play your PlayStation. Whatever like that. You get out there and vote, please.
Voter participation in our country and in our state it's paltry, it's pathetic, and to me it's a symptom of the citizenry, the electorate, being very lackadaisical, being very lazy, and just taking for granted what we have.
Yes, agreed.
Right? Yes. And it's a real shame. So the first responsibility of a citizen is to participate in the civics of your society, of your culture.
Well, definitely.
If you call yourself so woke and you don't go vote, no, you're comatose. The first thing you need to go do is register to vote and get into the arena of persuasion and listen to a myriad of political ideology. There's a lot of problems that our community, let's talk specifically about the Black community. That we are challenged with, right? Well, listen to multiple proposals of solutions to the problems that we've been facing for generations, right? Just don't fall into the orthodoxy. Don't just fall into generational ideology. Don't do something just because somebody else previously before you, mama, daddy, grandmama, granddaddy did it. You have a brain for your own. Listen to the logic. Understand the economics. Understand the civics. Understand how the government is actually structured. Understand what government was created for in the first place.
Yes.
Why was it ever created? The first reason government was created was to simply stop chaos. That's the first reason. The first reason that government, and no matter what civilization you study, no matter how ancient the civilization, there was some sort of governmental entity in place for the first reason that government was created, to stop chaos. The second reason government was created, we find in Leviticus 18, and that is a charge by the Most High God to protect the spiritual integrity of the land. First reason, stop chaos, keep order in the society. Second reason for government, as charged by the Most High God, the Holy One of Israel, to protect the spiritual integrity of the land so that the people, the culture, the society may be blessed by the Holy One of Israel, may prosper and be protected by him, right? So beyond that, all these other ideologies about is government supposed to provide you housing, food, clothing, transportation, et cetera, at all, that's where you have your different ideologies come in on the political spectrum from left to right. And you need to understand each one of those ideologies and the zero-sum game of governance, of politics. Why the United States Constitution is so unique as a document, because it is a binding document. It's an incarcerating document of government to say what government could not do, that you would have boundaries. Maybe the 5 most beautiful words ever written by man: Congress shall make no law. And many of the problems that we're having right now in our country, economically and socially, is because Congress has made laws that are in violation of the Constitution. And therefore, the original vision of the United States of America as a bastion of liberty has been destroyed a long time ago. The idea of federalism, in which the powers were left really to the individual states, has really disappeared at the turn of the century. And I'm not talking about the 21st century. I mean the 20th century. When the 1900s rolled around, we started seeing more leftism, more progressivism, the surge of communism across the globe, the inception of the Soviet Union, and all those ideologies have creeped into American society, American economics, and American politics. All 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto can be found in some form in the United States of America right now. All 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, well, about 8 planks of the Communist Manifesto can be found right here, right now in Texas governance, okay? I thought we're supposed to be a capitalist society. I thought we were supposed to be about individual liberty. I thought our Constitution was supposed to put government in a very tight, constrained box. Well, those constraints have been overflowed by what I call Washington Double City. And so many of the issues that we face as a Black community is because Black people have relied on government to do it for them. That's what we see in 1 Samuel chapter 8, where the prophet, the Most High God warns the people through the prophet Samuel, hey, look, there's going to come a time when government is going to believe it is God. There is going to come a time when government is going to believe it has replaced God, and the people will accept it. And we are in that day. The people look for government to solve every situation they have in their life. And that was not supposed to be the way this country was set up or the way God wanted it as he laid it out in his word. We were supposed to rely on him. We were supposed to rely on our self-reliance, on our ingenuity, on our entrepreneurship. We're supposed to rely on our capitalism as the Lord Jesus lays out in Matthew 25. So, this whole idea, you have to, as voters, and especially as the Black community, I was on, Isaiah Carey. I'm a regular frequent guest on Isaiah Carey's Isaiah Factor Uncensored.
I saw you somewhere. That's why I watch it every Tuesday night, man.
Yeah, and so the last time I was on last week, an attorney, sister was on there, and she calls me a sellout. Well, why am I a sellout? Sure, I'm a self-admitted, fully transparent, ultra-conservative, right? I'm liberty-driven through and through, down to the bone marrow, right? I'm Jesus Christ all the way. And, liberty is the closest thing to the ideology of Christ. That's what it says in 2 Corinthians 3:17. Now, the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. So when we're advancing liberty, when we're advocating for liberty, when we're fighting for liberty, we're actually advocating the kingdom of God himself, right? And so, she calls me a sellout. Well, why am I a sellout? I care about the Black community just as much as you do. I grew up in the Black community as an activist, as a child. My first political act was at 8 or 9 years old, and my mother and father would kick me out of the car into the housing projects to do voter registration, okay? My father was the president of the NAACP in Beaumont, Texas, 10 miles from the headquarters of the Ku Klux Klan. I know what white supremacy looks like. Yeah. I know what it is to be a victim of white supremacy. I care about the Black community. But why am I a sellout if I offer solutions, if I offer arguments that are different to the ideological orthodoxy of the left that has control over the Black community? And it's like plantation politics, right? It's like the Black people need another second emancipation, right? And so why am I a sellout if I'm offering solutions that have worked in other conditions and other situations that have helped other people? And my challenge to the Black community is change your way of thinking.
That's the problem. The key word is change.
Michael Jackson, man in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Stop blaming this institution. Stop blaming that institution. Stop blaming this group of people because of their ability or inability to produce melanin. And look at what you're doing. If Black lives matter so much, then Black people need to stop acting like it and stop killing each other. If Black lives matter so much, then they should be at the abortion clinic shutting it down. Vandalize it, because 1,500 Black people are being murdered in the womb nationally every day at a on a daily basis, a rate much greater than the African triangular slave trade. If Black lives really matter, right? Stop shooting each other.
They market the abortions they put the Planned Parenthood.
That's why it was created.
Predominantly Black communities.
Planned Parenthood was created for the specific purpose of exterminating Black people, and they're doing it to this day, right? So don't call me a sellout if I'm equally, if not more greatly concerned about the condition of our community. If I'm steeped and baptized in activism in the Black community. Don't vilify me. Don't ridicule me. Don't harass me. Don't troll me. Don't gaslight me if I'm coming with solutions. Because if I'm a sellout, you're insane. If I'm a sellout, you're insane, because you are proposing the same solutions over and over again and expecting a different result.
That is true.
He said, don't gaslight me. I haven't heard that in years. Just to let you guys know what's going on, we got Reverend Claver on the ones and twos today for RERvideo. We want you guys to check it out, digital, everything. As you guys see, he ain't just about sports. He's about politics, about religion, sports, life. If you want to talk to him, call the whole show, man. Check him out.
I'm telling you, he's a man that is knowledgeable about anything.
So powerful that just now.
Powerful, and the knowledge that he has. This is why I sat under him and fed under him, because that knowledge is invaluable.
I think a lot of things rare, but I think a lot of people don't want change. So when you put the change into the conversation or the discussion, people look at you and they'll be like, "Oh, he's one of those types." And that's the fact that, with us,
it's different.
But it's possible, Cliff. It's possible.
It's always possible.
I mean, because the Lord says, "Let us sit down and reason together." Okay, so look. Let's, as a community, let's just talk about the Black community that's suffering so viciously right now, right? I mean, there's a lot of pain right now in the Black community. Well, not just throughout the nation. There's a lot of pain, right? Mm-hmm. So at least let's get our attitude to the point of, let's sit down and chit chat.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Why do you believe in what you believe? Why do you think your proposal, why do you think your plan, why do you think your ideology will advance the improvement of the human condition? Not just the Black community, but the human condition as a whole. If you want to get specific about it, okay, let's talk about the problems of the Black community. Offer us some solutions and let's chit chat about it. Allow me to point out what I think are the shortfalls of your proposal. Allow me to present what I think are the solutions to our community en masse.
Yeah.
If you feel that there are shortfalls to what I propose, please feel free to point them out and then let me rebut. And then I should allow you the ability to rebut if I find what I think are shortcomings, shortfalls in your proposal. If I think I see failings, I should be kind enough, respectable enough. Enjoy the banter, the debate, the colloquy between a fellow citizen to say, why don't you go ahead and rebut? I think this is wrong about your proposal. I think this is wrong about your way of thinking, the political ideology that you subscribe to. But please rebut. Let's have a conversation and let's engage in political conversion. I was an instrumental. The Holy Spirit allowed me to convert Tracy into a believer. Well, there needs to be some political conversion as well. There needs to be some political evangelism, just like Tracy and I would go out underneath the Pierce Elevated and preach to the homeless, the drug addicted, the former, sex workers, and all those that we had to deal with out there underneath the Pierce Elevated. That was our ministry. That was our church. That's who we sat with in the pews next to every day. Those folks that were mentally ill, those folks that didn't have a place, to take a bath and walked into the church smelling like urine. That was our congregation, right?
They had nothing else.
They had nothing else, right? But they gave their lives to Christ, and we saw many of them change their lives. It was because of spiritual conversion through anointed persuasion. Mm-hmm. Okay, the same thing needs to happen politically for many of us in the Black community.
Agreed.
You know what? If you want to live like them folks on the other side of town, maybe you should consider voting like them folks on the other side of town.
Sheila Jackson Lee haven't done nothing for that her congressional district in 20 years, 20, 30, never years.
What?
Put it out there. Said Sheila Jackson Lee. She hasn't done anything for her congressional
and
district.
She keeps and how the government is set up, how the power of seniority is set up in Washington and in Austin and in other places. She keeps garnering more and more power. That's seniority, right? She'll be a committee chair pretty soon. Lord have mercy.
A lot of them up there, though. A lot of them up there like that.
See, this is the thing. The reason I know from personal experience, when I was laid off and I ran into her at one of my former professors, she came up to TSU to do something. I introduced myself, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And she gave me her card. Cool. I end up emailing her office. Hey, I just wondering, is there anything that, that maybe there's a possibility of coming to work for your office? Nothing. I never heard anything, but you're here to help your community. You see, that doesn't make sense to me. If you're here to help the community, if you're so advocating for the community, you need to advocate when the TV.
That's not fair, Trees. That's not fair.
No, it is fair because the thing about it is you gotta advocate when the TV is off, not only when the TV is on.
That's not fair because what if she had, what I'm saying? What if you gotta realize if you want to meet somebody, you have to go into their office and talk to them face to face. If I'm talking to you on the street, what you may tell me, I may not remember or whatever like that. So if you didn't, come on.
She may get hundreds of those like that.
Hundreds of people. You know what I'm saying? That's not fair for her.
But the problem is the understanding of the system.
Yeah. That
so many people think that Queen She-Jack Lee, has the ability on her own to do something. She does not. She is a congresswoman. There's 535 people in Congress and the legislature, through majority decides on what's going to happen. She's just one. You have to make sure that whatever she does as a single representative, of half a million or a third of a million people, that whatever she's advocating for and how she's voting on bills, which become laws, that she's doing it in the best interest of not just the Black community, but she's doing it in the best interest of every citizen, because every citizen in her district isn't Black. The thing that we should want out of our politicians is to be subscribers of policy, economic and social cultural policies that are best for every citizen, not for a specific interest group or a specific race or a specific religion or a specific or sexual orientation, but what's the best policy? What's going to benefit every citizen in your constituency, right? Every constituent. And when you advocate principles of liberty, when you understand the zero-sum game of the more power government has, the less freedom you have, the more money government has, the less money you have. Once you understand that zero-sum game, it should change your thinking about who you're voting for and what policies that they're advocating. What policies do you subscribe to? The more power government has, the less freedom you have. The more money government has, the less money, wealth, prosperity you have, because government gets its money from your labor.
You're right. You are correct.
Right? So if you're having a hard time paying your bills, if you're having a hard time keeping a roof over your head, if you really have to live off of government subsistence, government assistance to get by, which is not God's way of doing things, then maybe you should be putting a check on yourself on who you're supporting politically, to put these policies in place that make it virtually impossible for you to live. Right? I know people that have moved from New York. I mean, you look at a place like California, New York, where the poverty line is $100,000. If you're not making 100 large, you are below the poverty line. Yeah. Where the regulations to build real estate out there are so onerous that they have a hard housing shortage, and they've got this homeless problem because they can't build enough housing because of the regulatory environment out there. It takes 3 years to build a 5,000 square foot house because of the regulatory environment. So they can't build housing fast enough. The taxes are too high, and the regulatory, environment on what you have to do, what must be in your house in order for it to be built at a certain time, all the inspections and et cetera. It exacerbates the problem of homelessness, to the point now where you got Berkeley in California talking about raising the minimum wage to $19 an hour. What do you think that's going to do when you have wage inflation like that? The hamburger flipper making $19 an hour. What do you think the hamburger is going to cost? It automatically, economically has to be jacked up. So the cost of living continues to rise. What policies en masse, we in the Black community, what have we embraced as the Black community? Why are we still so far behind when we possess so much brain power? When we possess so much athletic talent? When we are indeed successful in so many businesses, right? When the church is supposedly so powerful, why do we still lag behind? Maybe we need to change our economic philosophies. Maybe we need to change our cultural and social philosophies. Maybe we need to change our political philosophies.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? How you just
said that. What did I say last week, Cliff?
You just ran into that segment. You just ran into that segment, but I'm about to ask you.
They said exactly that last week. I told you that, Cliff.
So, I mean, I agree with that.
I told you that.
Well, you ain't got to keep telling me I told you that. I'm just telling you that I agree with you on it. The fact of the matter is,
she got to
run. I told you that. And she be dead wrong all the time. I told you that. It'd be dead wrong. You talked to the wrong person. This is another question I got to ask you. And this is pertaining to what you just spoke on. And it's about creating our own league.
Your own league. Exactly. I brought this up to Cliff and I told him, we as Black people, we have the power. It's too many professional Black athletes that have the cash flow to come together to create our own league, our own sports leagues.
You're talking about football, baseball?
Period.
All of it, period.
Okay, I don't know about our own league, right? But this is something I've always dreamed of, and I thought the XFL was going to be it this time. And this COVID killed the XFL, and I am absolutely distraught.
I'm mad.
I thought XFL was going to be fantastic for players, for fans, lovers of the sport. They're going to have a chance to get a paycheck. I like their business model. You can make a little piece of coin playing in the XFL. You're still utilizing your skills. You're getting paid for something that you love, with the potential of going to the NFL, once again, getting back to the NFL. I didn't like it. It really hurt me. I can't say hurt me, but it hurt. I was disappointed that the XFL had to go belly up because of the economic shutdown.
Right.
I have said for years, because of the exploitation of the college athlete, that there needed to be a league started, just like in baseball, right? If you play baseball in high school, you have an option. You can get drafted as a graduate, as a senior in high school, and you have an option. I can go to college or I can go to A-ball, right? And get, I'm not going to get paid very much, but I don't have to go to college, and I am practicing my craft, and I am working my way up to that, 7-figure yearly salary or 10-figure yearly salary in the major leagues.
Right.
I wish there was an entrepreneur that would do that for football, to where a kid coming out of high school had the option. All right, if I want to go to Oklahoma, fine, but I know if I go to this league over here, they're going to pay me. It's not going to be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 12 months out of the year. I may be able to do some college as well. I may be able to get another job as well. I'm going to get a paycheck, and I'm going to develop my skills as an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old without the controversy of getting paid. If I go to Oklahoma or Penn State or Northwestern or Cal Berkeley or UCLA or UT or A&M, where I'm getting paid under the table and everybody is playing nasty, it's dirty and it's corrupt. Here's a league over here out in the open. Here's the payroll. When you're a freshman, your first year in the league, you're going to get this much. Your second year in the league, you're going to get this much. Your fourth year in the league, you're going to get this much. If there's some sort of equivalency of red shirt, you're going to get this much. And you don't think the NFL scouts are going to be there looking at that league just like they're looking at, LSU or Alabama or the U? They're going to be looking at that league, and these kids would be getting paid. And the NCAA, which is absolutely tyrannical, it's a monopoly, needs the challenge. I think that their antitrust exemption needs to be taken away. They've proven themselves to be tyrannical. They're anti-liberty, and they're exploiting these athletes for billions and billions of dollars.
Yes, they are.
But they're starting to get, I think after this year's the beginning of it, where they're going to start paying the player for their likeness in the jersey sales.
Only in California. Only in California.
New York, California.
One of the states that are actually allowing it. You got to realize something.
But you get to the fact where these guys are going to say, okay, if they're getting paid in California and New York, why are we not getting paid in Louisiana and Florida? You know what I'm saying? We just as good as.
But here's the thing. The XFL was beginning to prove through the gate, through the attendance, through the television audience that it was gaining, that it could be a viable league, that people would support it, people would buy tickets, people would watch it. It was good football.
Yep.
It was good football. There was no question about it. It was high quality, good football. It wasn't gimmicky. They were introducing some innovations that were very interesting. In fact, I think improvements over the current NFL rules. The kickoff, I thought, was ingenious, right? And so is it impossible to challenge the fan base of Alabama? Is it impossible to challenge the fan base of Georgia or the Tennessee Vols? Right? Is it impossible? Or can you have a pro team, a semi-pro team, I would say a full pro team of kids that are 18 to 21 to 22 years old that opted out of going to college, because everybody don't need to go to college, opted out of going to college and said, I'm going to pursue my profession, my trade of football, like a kid has the option in baseball or in basketball, right?
Agreed. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. And that's what it's like you saying when you come out of high school, you know what? I don't want to work. I'm going to go work at the steel mill or the railroad or whatever.
Right. Or in my case at Beaumont, Texas, right? You know, I'm up there in honor grad. And there's guys that, you know, hardly show up to school, but they got their degree 1 week later. They're down at the refinery and they're pulling out rolls, you know, at the grocery store, right? Yeah. I mean, they barely made it, but they got that sheepskin. They can go down to the oil refinery and get a good job, get a good middle-class job, get a good home, and live a good life.
And I believe, like you said, I do, like those that are in they go to the HBCUs and don't get that exposure. The XFL is a place for them to get that exposure, just like the G League, and the G League is a place for the NBA players that don't make it.
Exactly.
PJ Walker was an example of the situation where it worked. We all knew how it worked, but the question till we try to get to everybody is that
I just wish that there was an entrepreneur out there, right? Okay,
do it.
You know,
that's not afraid either,
right?
Vince McMahon, right? Okay, I gotta give him full props for doing the XFL and doing it right this time and taking that entrepreneurial risk. And I'm so. You know, I really send out condolences to him for that league going belly up, right? I really had hopes for it. I thought it was going to be great spring football, fill in a really, you know, bad gap. What I think is the worst part of the sports calendar of the year, you know, between the Super Bowl, you know, and when, you know, the NBA championships.
Oh my gosh, the worst.
Starts and when Formula One starts, that gap from Super Bowl to about the middle of March, man, it's like a black hole and nothing, right?
Cliff, what did I say? We would sit at
the worst
bar,
days ever, man.
And last year,
it's the worst days ever.
We're sitting at the bar, we're looking at cornhole, drinking beers. We're like, man,
I mean, you know, the NBA is in its dog days.
Yeah,
I'm not a real big fan of college basketball. I mean, I think the quality of the game has the quality of college basketball.
It's watered down.
Because the players are leaving. The players are not staying no more.
Well, anybody that's worth watching is already in the NBA. I mean,
you're not gonna.
You think about in the 1980s when you had the NCAA Final Four and you got Patrick Ewing going up against the Dream, going up against James Worthy, going up against Michael Jordan, going up against Clyde Drexler, going up against Dr. Duncanstein, going up. You know, these were future Hall of Famers in the Final Four. You ain't got that now.
No, you don't. You don't. And it's because they left. They're gone.
You know what's so crazy, Rev? The funny you say that is because I follow all sports, man, everything. And I realized that the kids that are in high school are getting more props than the guys that are in college that are in school right now.
Yes, they are.
You know why? Because of the recognition they're getting off social media.
They need to go back to the format of if you want to come straight out of high school into the NBA, that's your business. They need to go back and do that. That's something to me, in my opinion, I think it's not fair because you're trying to dictate and tell me that I have to go to college before I can go to the NBA.
And so what you're seeing, we talk about, Russian collusion in the political sense and all of that at the beginning of the Trump administration and all of that. Okay, that's collusion.
That's collusion.
Between the NCAA, and the NBA. And you get it between the NFL and the NCAA. Yeah. The NCAA dragging in more money than even the NFL.
Exactly.
And telling them, no, we're not gonna allow you. Maurice, what was his name from Ohio State that tried to check? Yeah,
Maurice Claret.
Maurice Claret, and they crushed him. Absolutely pulverized him.
He's in jail right now.
So that's collusion. That's why I'm against the NCAA or the NFL having all these antitrust exemptions, the Major League Baseball having all these antitrust exemptions, and all of that. I mean, there may not be someone to actually challenge them competitively.
Yeah.
But as far as the antitrust exemptions that they receive, in which they can wield a great amount of power over the athletic community, athletes themselves individually and collectively, then something needs to be wheeled in.
And see, the thing about it is, like I told Cliff last week, it's like this. You say, okay, I'm forced to go to college so that I can continue my notoriety so I can go play in the league like I want to do. So you throw me $300,000, you buy my mom a house, you pay my grandmother's house, her third mortgage off, and then I get hurt in college, and then it's nothing.
I'm done.
I'm done.
They get Pat Mahomes age of the same contract then.
Yeah, and it's not fair because that $300,000, what happens is something like Reggie Bush, it comes to light 5 years later, and then you got to lose your Heisman.
Right, but if you had another league competing with the NCAA,
exactly,
right, in which the kid comes out of college, and he may not. Excuse me, he may come out of high school, he may not be making a lot of money, but he's going to have an insurance plan.
Exactly.
Big time. Jay Williams had one.
He's going to have an insurance plan so that if he blows out his ACL a couple of times and it is game over. Okay, well look, thank you for your service. Your career is really kind of over, but at least here's $250,000 to give you sort of a little start and a jump off.
That's what happened with Jay Williams when he blew his leg out on the motorcycle. He tore his leg up, and he's the second year playing for the Bulls. You talking about Jay Williams that came out of Duke?
I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened to him. He had I think a $3 million insurance policy. If he hurt himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he ended up going from there.
We were talking about. We were also talking about this last week. As far as a lot of the athletes, and as a guy, matter of fact, this was before the bars closed. There's a guy that played for Kansas City back in the 80s, named Robert Duque. And he was talking about, he was one of the football players that was in it. They asked him to weigh in on the, whenever we're having the discussions about the whole NFLPA, about the former players getting insurance, because that was one of the things that they were talking about, that it's unfair that a lot of the former players, they don't have insurance, but they suffer, concussion symptoms for the rest of their lives, and they have nothing to fall back on. And we were, another guy we were talking to, he's a semi-pro player. And he was saying that, the reason why they couldn't come to an agreement, me personally, I didn't understand it until he actually broke it down and said, no, it's because we need the aftercare, which makes sense. It's just like if you retire from a job, you still have insurance. When you retire from the NFL, you don't have that.
Well, it would be more like the Veterans Administration. You go and serve in the United States
military.
Correct.
For 3 years, or 2.5, 3 years. And your medical is taken care of until you take your last breath. Exactly.
And that's what they were saying. They were like, they don't have that in the NFL, and they feel it's unfair. Somebody, they put their life on the line.
And they could afford the insurance policies. They don't have to necessarily be a Cadillac plan, but they could afford the insurance policies to pay for those retired players.
Exactly.
Oh man, they make $1 billion every month probably.
Exactly.
So I'm pretty sure I think this is a fight, man. You got these guys coming up with CTE at the end of their career, and then on the way you talk about you want to make it safe, right? Make the game safe and build these helmets where these guys, the concussion blows and it don't push the brain in as much as possible. Man, look, we get all that. We just want these guys to be able to enjoy their families at the end of their career, where they can pick up their grandkid or their granddaughter and remember who they are. You know what I'm saying? And the insurance policy, the new collective bargaining agreement, man, it's mind blowing, man. I just think that they rushed it.
They did.
Me personally, and I don't think they looked over it. I think they just sent it out there because so much is going on now with COVID and everything, and you got to just cram everything up together.
But then
I think what's going to happen, that one of these guys probably die in practice for them to change it, or just suddenly abruptly retire and just say, forget it, I'm done with football. And as you notice, a lot of younger guys are retiring at 26, 27 because of that.
I mean, Andrew Luck, forget it.
Look, he said bye.
I don't need the HOF. I don't need anything. I need my life. You talking about me being paralyzed from the neck down. No, forget y'all. See you. Wouldn't want to be here. I got my money. I got my guaranteed. I got a degree from Stanford.
I'm out. I did call him a punk. I'm like you didn't really give the Colts, your and you.
They're not going to give it to you. They're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt where they want you to play. Look at Earl Campbell, man. Earl Campbell can't freaking walk. They ran Earl Campbell to the ground.
Agreed.
And for him to go out there and he may have insurance or whatever, maybe because of the sausages that he's selling out there. But the NFL definitely ain't gonna give him they're not giving him enough money. It's sad, man, and it's pathetic.
Because you're going out 16 weeks out of the year for what? 15, 16, 17,
no. 20. You go 20 weeks. 20 weeks. You're going on 20 weeks.
20, that's right. Never mind. Preseason. Not only that, your practice, your
training camps, OTAs,
all that. Yeah, that starts in March, April. So from February, if you make it to the Super Bowl, you have not even 2 months of rest to get back out there.
Imagine if you win it.
You've ultimately had 24 games.
Yeah.
Imagine if you win the Super Bowl.
If you win it. So you
don't get no rest.
You don't get no rest. There's no rest for you. Kansas City didn't get any. Well, they're resting now. But
that's why they're going to go 9-8 next year, probably, because you know what I'm saying.
I don't think they finna let that happen.
I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna be impressive like they was. I don't think they're gonna win the Super Bowl this year. I think they're gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah,
they probably.
Dub is.
No. Anyway, I just think that the fact of the matter is these guys with this COVID stuff is. You don't know what's gonna happen, man. It's so crazy. I saw that the NFL brought out new face masks.
It's a face mask, so it's going. To me, honestly, I think that's what's gonna progress. The season is gonna go based upon just them with that helmet.
So, playing football back in the day, man. I don't know if people noticed that I've coughed on people, I've spat on people, not on purpose. I've bled on people. People's bled on me. You know what I'm saying? This is a known fact in football. I'm on you like this. You know what I'm saying? You hear what's going on in that huddle or what's going on underneath that pile. It is crazy. The stuff that happens, the fingers that's pulled, the eye gouging, they pull your genitals. Man, it's crazy that happens in the game. How are you going to keep COVID from, you know what I'm saying? Like
You can't. Russell Westbrook working out and he caught COVID. I know what James Harden did. He decided he wanted to have a party at the Grand Tuscany and have.
No, Russell Westbrook was at the Dallas Cowboy house. That's where he was at.
No,
with that press conference. I'm joking. I'm joking. You don't know that.
Was in
well, how did he get COVID?
They showed the video. James Harden 2 weeks ago having a whole prostitute party at the Grand Tuscany.
And he probably could have got out there scot-free. You know what I'm saying? Russell Westbrook. He could be, he can have it and don't even know it.
I kind of figured they did when they said they didn't travel with them to Orlando. I was like, bruh.
I'm like, man.
Under wraps like they tried to do with your boy.
Now with radio stations out there on the internet, as long as people have their cell phones, you'll never hide from these cell phones because people are everywhere, bro. Even your own people.
That's how they broke it up. But that's how they broke it about James Harden, about him at the Grand Tuscany. Some chick was there.
Have you ever seen the Grand Tuscany?
That's why I was trying to have my birthday party at, but I'm not going now because the black people have found out about it. I don't want to no more.
It's actually not all that hot looking.
Some things and some people never change.
Yeah, you see that, huh? You need to put some holy water on her or something. She might burn in that chair.
I don't want to go, man, Cliff. So compared to last year when we went out to College Station, compared to trying to go, that was awesome, but I ain't even going there. Compared to this year trying to go to the Grand Tuscany, nobody knew about the Grand Tuscany. Then all of a sudden, James Harden goes there, and now everybody named mama.
People knew about that before James Harden. He just happened to be there. People knew about that. It's right down 249, right?
290, man.
290, whatever. Yeah. 249 to 290, whatever.
The only way I do it is if they let me I want the whole.
It just got a big pool. They just got a big pool area
with a DJ. It's gonna be 6 of us up there. BYOB.
Hey, the fact of the matter is, I don't think people are taking this serious as they should be taking it. Entertainers, athletes, politicians, your president, he finally put a mask on. You got people that's not taking it serious, and you're receiving the results. Going in these hospitals, they don't have any beds in ICU or nothing like that, and these people are dying, man, like dying, and people they're not taking it serious, man.
But back on the sports aspect of it, though, I do agree with Tillman Fertitta on this. You can't say you're going to play a sport and expect for nobody to test positive for COVID. That's just real. You got to realize on sports is contact.
What it's going to come down to is people, they're going to go door to door testing people. Watch. It's going to get that bad where they're going to start going door to door.
I don't think so.
Testing people.
I don't think so.
The test is not, it's there for people now. So you telling me they don't have the money to support that where they go to door to, because people not taking it. If I don't have no symptoms, I'm not taking it. But I can still have the symptoms to give it to somebody else.
Trust me, I know. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's my opinion. That's what I think is going to happen.
Be very careful, Cliff, that in your state of caution, that you don't lose your liberty. That you don't give government too much authority over what they do for you in the name of your health and of public health.
Exactly.
I got these things called Claverism, and I'm going to leave y'all with this tonight. There is no cause in all creation, no matter how desperate or how benevolent, that justifies the imposition of tyranny. I don't care how bad the situation is. Mm-hmm. All right. The justification of tyranny, which is the opposite of liberty. If you don't understand the definition of liberty, then you will never recognize tyranny. When the government is mandating you to do something, you must do something. You got to be very careful about giving up liberty, because once government has power, they're going to have the propensity to give it back up.
Right there. Exactly.
For the people to gain it back, to regain their liberty, is extremely difficult. We were talking earlier about our Constitution, because the founders of the nation that everybody's tearing statues down and everything of right now, they understood that government is basically a black hole, that it automatically, by its very nature, by its very construct, is like a black hole, always wanting to pull power to itself from the people. So when you're giving the admonition of watch out, they're going to start going door to door. Okay, be careful about what you want to do in the name of public safety. This idea of contact tracing that we're trying to battle right now here in the state of Texas, and the amount of money, you're giving up a lot of privacy. You're allowing the government to build a database of your whereabouts 24/7, 365. Be careful about what you advocate for, what you allow the government to do in the name of public health, in the name of saving lives. Let me repeat the Claverism. There is no cause in all creation, no matter how desperate or benevolent, that justifies the imposition of tyranny.
Yeah. Makes sense. It makes sense. And that's real. I believe it. And he's right. You get a little bit.
I mean, when you shut down the economy, okay, you got to look at, you have to look at the situation when there's people. I mean, one of the things that I did at RER, I went out and I interviewed small business people here in the Houston area, doing a series on it, of how that economic shutdown impacted a single mother with a business.
Ooh,
impacted a brother that's been, in the cosmetology, has had his own hair salon for 25 years. How did it impact him? How did it impact a friend of mine down the street that, owns the local watering hole that I've been going to for 12 years? How is his employees, how is he impacted? People that have made investments have put their lives on the line financially to do what the Lord has told them to do. Take a risk. Take a capital risk. Receive a capital gain. That's Bible. That's Jesus. That's Matthew 25. That's the parable of the talents, right? Invest. Go out there and make yourself a capital gain. What about them? Okay, for the sake of public safety, I refuse to believe that the brain trust of our civilization does not have the bandwidth to come up with solutions to which people's jobs are being lost. Businesses are not going to come back because of a governmental forced economic shutdown under the guise of public safety. I mean, the shutting down of the economy is going to do more damage long term than COVID-19 could ever possibly do. The economic damage that's going to be done to Texas, and what most folks don't understand is that in the midst of this COVID-19, what I call panic, not pandemic, panic, was Texas was attacked by Russia and Saudi Arabia. When it comes to our oil prices, people looking at, oh, wow, gas prices are going down. That's because we were literally economically attacked by Russia and Saudi Arabia, specifically our oil producers here in Texas, to put us out of business.
It's good, but not good.
Economically, okay?
Yeah.
And so and one of the things that I was, criticizing Trump for was, look, man, where's the retribution?
Yeah.
Where's the reprisal? Houston's going to lose 100,000 jobs because of where the oil prices are.
Exactly.
Oil, this is, although our economy is much more diverse now, energy is still the backbone of Texas, and they attacked us. That was economic warfare.
Yeah,
where's the reprisal? I'm not saying Trump drop cruise missiles in the laps of Putin, but where's the reprisals on tariffs or sanctions for what you did to Texas, right?
Go to Putin.
He's right, though, because you got to realize how hard has Houston suffered? Horribly.
And I was talking about, okay, well,
that was before the pandemic.
You got the lemmings. No, they hit at the same time.
Halliburton, as soon as it, I'm telling you.
At the same time, COVID-19 and Russia and Saudi Arabia conspired against us.
It was right then and there.
At the same time.
I'm talking about before, like, when I first got here in Houston, the oil and gas, the oil and gas hit a big snag.
Yeah, that was back in 2008.
I would say
7.
No, not that far back. I would say probably 14, 15.
It was slack. 16? It hit the last time.
It was a little slack, right?
It was a slack.
The last time it hit hard, it was like this. As long as oil prices are floating between 48 and 52, that's really kind of the sweet spot. Right. For us here in Texas, that's kind of the sweet spot, right? That because we don't have an income tax. We have the severance tax, where oil and gas, they pay a tax for oil and gas. It comes out of the ground.
Right.
That supplies our rainy day fund in case, we do have economic hardship. Hurricane comes through, blows out 5 counties. Where does the money come from to repair them? Right. It's from our economic stabilization fund, also called the rainy day fund. And that comes from oil and gas tax, the severance tax, that, what you get out of the ground. Mm-hmm. So if you've got oil wells shutting down, if you have energy companies that are filing for bankruptcy like Concho, well, then that's less money that goes into Austin and our ability to pay for the things of education, criminal justice reform, transportation improvements, and all the other responsibilities that Austin has, not what Washington has, right? And so that was sort of one of the things that I was really pushing for on my program that, focuses primarily on politics. We have to look at these things economically. Yes, we want people to be safe. Yes, COVID is a serious thing, but you do not shut down the economy. You're going to cause damage. The damage that's going to be caused, the money that they're spending up in Washington, it is going to have a deleterious effect on our buying power. It's going to have a deleterious effect on interest rates, which means our ability to buy homes, the impact it's going to have on real estate, the impact it's going to have on commercial real estate. Yes. It's going to be felt for years and years and years.
We were barely recovering from the last economic hardship back in 2006. Right.
It's bad.
All the jobs that were recovered since the financial crisis when President Obama came into office in 2008, the financial crisis and the mortgage bailouts and all that in 2008 and 2009. All the jobs that have been created since then, all the gains that have been created since the Trump administration as far as job gains are concerned, and they have been good, they're gone. They were gone in 2 months. 2 months, all gone. All the work that was done in a decade, gone in 2 months from a government-imposed economic shutdown instead of not panicking and putting some of the safeguards in place that they're putting in now.
Exactly. Somebody understand me.
But they don't want to listen then.
They don't want to listen.
Nobody wants to listen.
I call it a panic. And what happens when people panic? Somebody gets stampeded and loses their lives.
Always.
So, like you said, from the beginning, had you put the safeguards in place, we wouldn't be here. Simple. Other countries did it. I don't understand why we couldn't.
That's why I call it a panic, not a pandemic, a panic. Everybody panicked. We got to shut everything. I've got video footage. Okay, I've got video footage of me on the Northwest Freeway on 290 going inbound at 9 a.m. in the morning, and I'm doing 82 miles an hour.
Yeah, because ain't nobody on the freeway.
Okay? As much as we hate traffic in Houston, and that's the worst thing about Houston is the traffic, the smell of exhaust is money to us.
You don't see nobody on the freeway. I'm going to turn.
Nobody.
And my old driving lady lane. Just flying through doors. And you're right. There's nobody on the roads. There's nobody out there.
Yeah, there was nobody on the road yesterday. Went to go get crawfish. There was nobody on the road. I hate driving on Sundays because normally people are, Sunday brunch drunk. It was cool. Smooth sailing.
Including you. Well, we're not.
You know what? We haven't had a Sunday fun day in a while. The last Sunday fun day we had was prior to the shutdown.
You probably didn't remember it.
I remember it because I told you, Cliff, I said, you know what? I think it's going to be the last Sunday fun day we have. Let's enjoy it. And then everybody rolled in from Prospect.
Just let everybody know who's watching. We got Reverend Claver on the ones and twos with RERvideo. Check him out, guys.
Raging Elephants Radio. RagingElephantsRadio.com. That's with the news and everything. But you can also check out RERsports.net. Yeah. It's content challenged right now, but we've got more content coming. And like we said before, we're going to be the home of the Houston karting karting scene. And so I would just suggest, eventually, like I said, Cliff, we'll expand out to other sports, but we're going to plant our flag when it comes to karting and motorsports right now in the Houston area. And we want to introduce it to a diverse, Houston is the most diverse city, racially diverse city on the planet. Okay?
That's dope, man. That's an awesome thing.
Houston, Texas is the most racially diverse city on the planet.
Yep.
We want people of all communities to be introduced to this sport, start participating in the sport. It's a blast. It's not expensive. And we think that we could be profitable at RER Sports by covering it and bringing it to people that have never been introduced to it before.
Man, I'm totally 100% on board with it.
I'm trying.
If you can get somebody to do cornhole championships on the Ocho,
you know what?
Come on, man.
Exactly.
Like championship.
I saw Soapbox Derby a couple of weeks ago. They had Soapbox Derby on it, and the whole thing was sponsored by Red Bull. Oh, we can make some money.
Hey, look, Michelob, sponsor. Thank you.
Rock, paper, scissors championship.
Right.
I kid you not.
Soapbox Derby. Soapbox Derby. On TV.
Hey,
sponsored by Red Bull.
Essential Water, sponsor. Hello.
Hey, come on.
Come on, man. Crown Royal. Blake, we gonna get into it.
Horseshoes brought to you by Ciroc Vodka.
Ciroc Vodka.
Red berry.
No, summer watermelon.
Crown Royal. As they said, Crown Royal. Keep the purple bottle at home, though. Keep the purple bottle and bring the green bottle.
The World Hopscotch Championships brought to you by
Coke 45.
The old lady in church.
Brought to you by the Goose.
If you don't quack, you wasn't whack.
Paper Airplane Championships brought to you by Michelob.
Nah, man, that's crazy. So we really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for the invite. I really enjoyed it. Tracy said 15 minutes. It's now been 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Hey, you know how it goes. It flows.
We having fun, bro. We having fun.
Yeah.
Time flies. We having a good time.
That's how we do. That's how we do here. We started out the show doing exactly this. Last year, Monday Night Football, the Texans and the Saints, and I was ready. I had all the equipment. Cliff said, "You got what you gonna talk about?" I said, "I don't know. We gonna flow with it," and we flowed with it, and we've been flowing with it ever since, and it's been working. We went from 100 viewers to
trust me.
1,500.
There's notes,
2,000.
bro.
Yeah,
there's notes here. We take notes down. I think we just do this.
Notes, but it just goes. Like it just goes, and at the end of the day,
we do take notes, y'all. It may not sound like it, but we take notes.
You know, and we're here. We're almost a year in. I pray, please, Lord, so we can actually do one in person, like how we did for our 1 year anniversary. We've been going strong, and this has been it. And I'm loving every.
Shout out to Spencer Tillman for checking us out.
Man, shout out to Spencer. Thank you. You made my day. I'm posting this on everywhere. Yo, that's the highlight of my week. Spencer Tillman, check out the show. I'm done.
Go ahead and close it out, man.
Man, closing remarks. Again, thank you so much, Apostle, for coming on. We're gonna have you back again. You're gonna talk more about RERsports, more about Raging Elephants Radio and everything that's been done, like you say, from a Texas perspective, and highlight everything in Texas, from travel to politics to the what's that?
Business,
the
lifestyle,
everything.
We are a unique culture. We're an awesome culture. Just remember, we're Texans, and everybody else wish they were.
Exactly, and I'm glad you're highlighting that, because that's something that has been needed, and I agree that I wholeheartedly everything that it is, and the thing about everything that he said before about. When he comes with the facts and I give you a chance to rebuttal, I love that about him. That's something I've loved about him since I met him. And the fact that anytime that he comes up with something, it's something behind it that's a point of elevation. And I appreciate that. And I'm forever grateful for that.
That's how we evolve, bro. Just listen to what the next person has to say.
Yeah.
And like you said it perfectly about a month ago. If we come down to the round table or the red table, and get some kind of entanglement. But if you get into that situation with somebody where you're sitting around the table and everybody else disagree with you, and there's 1 or 2 people that agree with you, it's that point that you have to hear that other person out, just to listen to them, see what they're saying.
Agreed.
Just to get, maybe it's not ideal for this time,
right?
But maybe we use your idea the next time.
Right.
That's a mark of a civilized people.
And that's not where we at right now sometimes. And I hate to say it, the fact that we have people that, because your opinion is your opinion, it don't have to matter to me, and I show it don't have to matter to me. And that's not cool, man.
It's not cool.
If your opinion is your opinion, I want to at least hear you out and say what you got to say, because
that's the mark.
4 or 5 heads is better than one.
That's the mark of a civilized people.
Hey, and we have to get there, man. We definitely have to get there.
And we have to change it. Whether it be 1 by 1, 10 by 10, 100 by 100, however the case may be, we got to get there, because that's the only way that we're going to.
Or like Rev said, man, it starts with you in the mirror. The man in the mirror, it starts with you.
Exactly.
It starts with you first. If you don't love yourself, you can't love nobody else. So I can't tell you nothing if I'm going through something myself that's what I'm trying to tell you not to do.
Right.
And I'm going through it myself. That's hypocritical like a mug. So, man, just sit back, listen to what people have ideas, and we want to spend this black dollar that we call it, spend it and give the people a chance to mess up, or give somebody a chance to,
that's a whole other ball game. We're going to talk about that next week, because I have so much to talk about that. Like this stupidity that I saw today, bruh. On that note, OTM, on the mark, Apostle, we thank you again.
Appreciate it so much.
The genius.
The genius.
Cliff, I love you, brother. I never met you.
Man. Appreciate it, bro. Look, they call her the genius, but she's sitting there like this.
Look at mediocrity don't produce greatness, baby.
I like that shirt, though. That shirt.
Hey, shout out to Lola for doing it, aka Destiny, man. Shout out to her for making this for me, man.
It's a dope shirt.
I appreciate that. Yo,
yes.
The genius, baby, producing greatness all day, every day. OTM on the mark. We out.
Appreciate y'all. Love y'all.